Hi, and welcome to another episode of Career Reshaped. I'm Pauline.
I'm Natasha, and today we're speaking with Joey Correa, a data enthusiast unlocking the richness of life through qualitative and quantitative data. He has his own podcast and is also a 5-star author on Goodreads. He's had a few transitions during his career journey, and we're looking forward to learning more. Hey, it's Natasha.
And I'm Pauline.
We're so pumped to bring you even bigger and better stuff this season 2 of Career Reshaped.
We've got new guests, free masterclasses, and all the good vibes you'll only find here.
So don't forget to hit subscribe, follow us on Spotify at Career Reshaped,
and check us out on Instagram at my.career.angels.
Ta-da! Hello!
Hi, Joey. Thanks for joining us today. That was a great jump in.
Thanks.
Love the enthusiasm. So can you start off by letting us know a bit about you, where your career went, how it started, and where it is now? And we might stop you in between here and there, but just get going and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure thing. So I've been alive for a long time, so I'll give you a very high.
I'm very happy to hear that.
So I'll give you a very high level. Any way you want to drill down, let me know. But when I left school, I got into a psychology degree, got an honors degree in psych, and then got to a point where I was just like, okay, can do further study here, or I can go working. And so at that point, I'd been at uni for 5 years, been like in a learning institution for even longer. I was like, I need to make this degree work for me before I work more on that. So I went and got a job at an organizational psychology company. As probably a lot of people fresh out of uni, their experience is like, damn, I thought I was going to be changing lives, and here I am just doing all this like entry level, just craft, basically, like all the stuff that like all the experienced people don't want to do. So I was just basically,
it's always a rude awakening.
It is always
when you finish uni and you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to use my craft, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do this. And I think everybody thinks it's, whether it's an accountant, a doctor or whatever, but you always start with, here's some data entry.
Yes.
Can you just do that for us? Here's some filing. What? That's not what I signed up for.
But I feel like it's fair because
Yes.
you've got the theory, but not the practice. And I do know some people that when they just got out of university, they wanted that like managerial role, and they were looking for years because no one was going to give them a managerial role. And I was shocked that was even like a thought process that they had. And we graduated, me and this particular person actually graduated at the same time. And I was already in a lot more senior, and they were still working in a supermarket because they were waiting for this certain position that they thought that they were entitled to have, which sure, absolutely you can get there. But, you got to learn the basics.
It's
Get your way
disheartening
around.
going straight into the grunt work.
It isn't, but it's probably a rite of passage, right? And I guess what Pauline is saying is it kind of speaks a lot to, I guess, the way education systems are structured, right? Like if it's the case that you spend 4 years or 3 or 4 years doing this degree and getting into all this debt, and then you finish it, and then you're not trusted with anything but entry level skills, it's like, why do those like three years? Is it just a signaling mechanism?
Jon Snow.
What's that? Sorry?
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Yeah, you know nothing, Jon Snow, exactly.
You know nothing. But you're right. It should be a lot more practical rather than theory. Theory is great. I think it's important, but the practical side is invaluable. And when a person finishes university, they're already expected to have experience just to enter the entry level. How's that supposed to happen? If universities can change how they structure by combining practice and theory, that would be money well spent, I reckon.
For sure, yeah. But yeah, I could rant forever about like how the educational system is set up to just like create factory workers, basically. That's it's all set up to like basically get people to work like a like 9-to-5 job, nothing outside of that kind of thing, just like clock in, clock out. And yeah,
100%. That's also something I could talk for a very long time on.
Maybe a second episode.
Seriously serious podcasts and all that. So.
That's it.
All right, so you were in a place where you're like, I'm not making a difference. This is not what I was expecting. So what happened after that?
Yeah, for sure. So like just to give you an idea of the grunt work, it was just basically like people had printed out this like spec for me, like a bunch of content, and I just basically had to go to a computer screen and go like, okay, that word is there, and the next word is there, the next word, and yes, that picture is that picture, kind of thing. It was just like very tedious work.
So much fun.
Not much fun at all. No.
That's not even practical, like learning experience. That's data entry at its basic level.
It's probably one level removed from data entry, right? It's
It was,
probably
you weren't
it's just
actually
like,
entering data. You were just checking that the data.
Checking the data. I'm
That's
sure you
it.
can get a VA to do that, or
Exactly. Yeah.
why? That's something's not
So
right here.
in the process of doing that though, so like the thing that I was checking on the screen was actually a psychometric testing system. So it's I'll do a brief explanation because that might sound like a whole bunch of fancy words, but it's just basically like a um, if Pauline wants to know what she wants to do when she leaves uni or leaves school, she can come into this system and do a bunch of tests, and it will tell her like what a good fit for what role would best fit her given her personality and various aptitudes. And so, in the process of doing this very laborious check-in, I was actually finding some fairly serious problems with the system, and then the IT team basically wanted to poach me, and I was like, there's this really funny conversation I had with my soon-to-be manager, which is like, "Do you want a career in IT?" I said, "No." He goes, "Well, are you gonna? What are you doing after your contract finishes here?" I said, "I don't know, market research." And like he was like, "Well, why didn't you come work with us for like as long as it takes for you to find something, and then when you find something, just give us 2 weeks notice and you can be gone."
Smart. That's smart of the manager to kind of pull you in that way.
Yeah, very smart. And this particular guy, I always refer to him as Legendary Steve. He was kind of my guardian angel throughout my IT career because yeah, we went through a whole bunch of things together, and he always looked out for me. And one of those, I think one of the great things as well, without making it seem too utilitarian, is like I think when you look out for people, you build these great relationships so that like the company prospers as well. But yeah, we can probably go into that a little bit more later if you're interested. So I ended up working for this place for about 4 years, which was a vast contrast to the start where I basically was looking for another job within 3 weeks. Like when I started, like I was basically like, I hate it here kind of thing. I just want out. But one of the great things about being entry level is you don't have many options. You just kind of take whatever you can get. And so, as fortunate to have it, I ended up staying there for about 4 years, started building a great career in software testing and IT in general. And then I worked for the great Australian then startup, now very big corporation, Atlassian. And so I had a really good 2.5 year stint there, and then worked for various other businesses in a software testing test manager type role. And then around the 2018 type mark, I was thinking, you know what? I see this AI thing, I see this machine learning and data science thing, and it's really starting to take off. I could perhaps work on building these skills in the background, but that would possibly take me twice, maybe 4 times as long as if I just try to create a runway and then and then basically like quit my job and work on this full time and use the fear of running out of money to propel me forward. Not something I recommend to everyone.
Genuine fear.
Genuine fear. That's it. That's it. So I made that decision after and that was basically the like around 2018 was when the ideas in my book kind of uh, I started surfacing those concepts and stuff that I'd use over and over again over the years, and to make career decisions, finance decisions, and all sorts of things. I kind of took that leap of faith, and I got caught. Like someone caught me. I should probably say I didn't get caught. So I took the leap of faith. Someone caught me, and so that was this little three person startup called Tataro that they help not for profits retain their donors, and so they use machine learning and what is now called artificial intelligence to basically help not for profits go like, oh well, I think Natasha's been a fantastic donor for us for the past like 2.5 years, but according to what we know about people like Natasha, she's probably going to churn in at the end of her third year. So why don't we get in touch with Natasha and tell her she's a great donor and tell her about the great impact she's been making through her donations, and hopefully that will make her stay. And so so that was a really great stint. It was a fantastic start because a lot of people trying to break into data science and machine learning, it's really difficult to get into because it's a very like sexy industry. It was then. It's probably even more so now, and it's. I'll be very thankful to the guys at Datara. If you're listening, thanks, guys. I'd be very thankful. I'm always very thankful for them to give me that start. It was very fortuitous for me, and then after that, I ended up working at a fintech called the Lula that they do a similar thing except for banks, and so they specifically home loan customers. And so let's say Pauline has a mortgage, and she, it kind of says an analogous thing, which is basically like, given what we know about people like Pauline, they've been with us. They're likely to churn in like 3 years after starting with us. So Pauline's coming into like 2.5 years. Let's get in touch. Maybe give her a discount on her mortgage. Tell her like what a valued customer she is, and we can perhaps retain her, because it costs them a lot of money to get clients, right?
I think I need to become one of these customers. I never get any phone calls from anyone to see how I'm going or try to keep me, because I think I'm just really loyal. So once I'm in something, I'm there forever. I think I need to, like, Banksy listening, I'm going to change it up a little bit.
That's it. That's it.
Give me that call, discounts.
That's it. Like I think it's I think we generally underestimate how expensive it is for all these big organizations to acquire us, and how much revenue we actually provide them. Because once we're set up, it's just like pretty much like set and forget, right? So yeah, definitely throw your weight around, Natasha. Like
Yeah, I think I need to. So it's called the insurance companies, the water, the gas, electricity.
That's it. That's
Also,
it.
there's not that many people in Australia, honestly, compared to anywhere else in the world. So they really need to keep you. So, like in Hong Kong, I know my partner, when he was living in Hong Kong, he wanted to get a better deal. So he tried the tactic of I'm going to cancel my subscription. Like, okay, do you want us to cancel now? He's like, wait, no, wait. So like, it didn't work. But I know here, when they cancel, they try to retain you. So yeah, the whole retention department set up for it. So yeah, but no, I'm like, okay, there's enough people that they don't care.
We've got a lot of
Yeah,
phone calls
that's
to
it.
make after this recording, I think.
I'll be interested to hear the follow up. But I think it's similar. I think what Pauline experienced right there is probably like similar to the career advice you probably give people, which is like when you're in a when you get a job offer, like your best negotiating position is if you've got another job offer lined up as well, so you can actually walk away. But the worst kind of thing is like if you say like, oh, I can walk away, and they say, okay, cool, I'll take that back. It's like, oh, wait, you don't want to be in that position going, wait, right?
Yeah, that's why we have a whole negotiation skills, know what your best, walk away point is, and what you can put forward and what you can't. So be very careful. But yes, absolutely, especially if you have another job offer, you can have that bargaining of, well, I've already received that offer. It could be that you prefer to work at that place, and they say, okay, we'll go get the other offer. Crap. But at least you have it as a backup.
Well, it's definitely a hard one today because at this moment, it's an employer's market. So basically, it just means there's a lot of people out there looking for work. So if you don't want to accept the offer, that's okay. 5 other people do, and companies know that. So they may not necessarily want to negotiate with you. I'm not saying that you should accept a low ball offer. You should definitely know what your minimum is and don't go below that, because you got to live. There's bills and things you got to pay. If you go below, you could be in trouble. But it's a balance at the moment, trying to say, okay, well, I know I'm worth this much and I bring this much to the table. This is the benefits that I can give the organization. If you hire me, I can help solve a problem or bring you more money or whatever it may be, streamline things. So I'm worth this much because I'm going to save you that much. And that's kind of how you need to go in to negotiate, not just, well, no, I was expecting 5K, 10K, 20K more. That's it. So you got to explain why, justify why you're worth more. If the offer is already reasonable and within sort of market rate, then yeah, you have to be smart about how you negotiate, because they can easily say, sorry, no, no dice.
So what was the next steps from there?
So yeah, so like when I was working at that fintech, I came to a point where I was thinking to myself, like, what is next for me? And it wasn't like after spending years there. It was probably around the like 6 to 7 month mark. And at the time, my dad was retiring as well, and he'd worked at a place for 30 years. Like, in stark contrast to me, where like I guess the longest I'd stayed at a place was 4 years, and that is considered like a long time by
These
many
days,
standards.
yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
and
it's at three. Three is the average at
yeah,
the
three.
3 years. Yeah.
That's it. The rule of three, right? So I so dad was retiring as well, and I was like thinking to myself, you know what, like I've got enough savings. I'd love to spend more time with him and with mum, like as like they kind of move into this next chapter of their lives. And so I took a bit of a career break with the idea as well of like going, let me just like kind of think about what I actually really want to do. Is it the data engineering side of things, which is what I was doing at Alula, or is it like I love nerding out about habit design, like how to build good habits and discipline. Is it something I can do around that? And that's where the idea of like going, well, I've got quite a few ideas, and people keep asking me about them. So why don't I crystallize them in some kind of format? So that's where the idea for from dilemmas to decisions came from, and so yeah. The the 6 month career break has just ticked over 2 years now.
The book's doing well.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
You obviously had a few changes, especially starting in getting honors in psychology, then going into all the techie side of things, and then a book. What did you find was most challenging with each change? So, especially go back to psychology to Atlassian. Atlassian.
Atlassian, that's right.
Yeah. What was the big challenge, if any, did you have?
So from going to psychology into do you mean Atlassian specifically, or do you mean going into tech?
Going into
Like,
tech.
Yeah,
Going into
yeah,
tech.
sure thing.
career change. They're two
That's
very
it.
different things. It's
They're
not
very
like they're
different.
parallel to one another.
That's it. Yeah, people ask me all the time, like, what was the process behind that? And so part of it was the idea of like it was a relatively smooth transition, in that it wasn't like I went from psychology to work in a tech company like Atlassian, for example. I went from studying psychology to working in an organizational psychology company, which is I keep calling it the org psych company. It's Chandler McLeod Group. So like a really big. I think their main thing is recruitment now, but at the time they offered a whole bunch of other services like vocational placement and stuff like that. So the the it it was kind of like quite a nice organic unfolding, which is great because at the time I didn't know anything. Like, probably still I don't know anything, but like 15, 20 years ago, I knew far less. And so I think if it was a case that I went from studying psychology to going into an org sci company that didn't have that IT component, where I was literally just doing that check-in thing day in, day out, I probably would have I don't know what I would have done. I think I probably would have just like accepted it because you don't know any better, right? And you're getting money and stuff like that, and your parents are proud of you, and so it's just like, I guess this is work. You know, I guess this
Now.
that's it. Yeah, I wish I could tell you that it was like a very intentional process, but I think I was like as an early 20 something, just kind of like buffeted by the winds of just like whatever life was kind of demanding from me. I just would kind of do it without any particular um, long-term goal.
Well, that's very interesting because a lot of people that we've spoken to, they've said similar in terms of accepting what's come their way. So, you had that offer. Have you thought about transitioning to this? Have you thought about doing that? No, I haven't. But you did it anyway because trying something new, you don't know where it's going to lead you. And it's not that we're telling people, go do all the things. If someone says, hey, do you want to be a skydiving instructor? And you say, yeah, sure. If you're got a fear of heights, it's not going to work.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this topic,
We just wanted to check in and say that if you believe that you need some assistance and that we could help you, reach out to us today, check out our website, join our newsletter. We'd love to be in touch.
we wanted to quickly mention that subscribing to the podcast is the best way to support the show and ensure you never miss an episode. It's super easy. Just click the subscribe button whenever you're listening. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so then my question is I know a lot of people listening that might say, okay, but you in your 20s, it's easy. You have the flexibility of trying new things and saying yes and throwing caution to the wind because you don't have really anything else holding you back. You don't have a mortgage, you don't have kids, whatever it may be. So what about today? What about if an opportunity came around today? How would you approach it? Like something different, whether it's the same thing, but you're only just discovering it now, that it only knocks on your door now, or something different altogether, like marketing, or whatever came knocking at your door. What will be your thought process now for another shift, and how would you handle it today versus then?
Yeah, it's maybe not so hypothetical because as you guys probably know, like when you run a business, there are like many different opportunities that get thrown at you. You mentioned marketing, and that is like funnily one of those things that I've had to kind of learn on the go, and it has been one of those things that also it does tickle my psychology tendency a little bit as well. So it is one of those things where I like pursuing, but at the same time, it's just like, okay, like you're doing all this like content marketing and stuff like that. Like, what about actually sharpening up the coaching programs, or like writing the next book, or like making this current book better? All these different opportunities, right? So the way I would approach it, let's say the marketing thing, right? Let's say someone says, hey, Joey, like I can see that like your marketing for your book or your marketing for X product that you got out there is like really top notch. Who do you use? And I'll say like, oh, I don't actually use anyone. I just do it all myself. And they go, oh, would you be willing to do some work for me and a couple of my friends or something like that? We'll pay you and stuff like that. And so that will mean like, okay, I have to make a decision between people that are kind of like beating down my door to say like, hey, I want to give you some marketing work, versus like selling more kind of like self-improvement stuff, which is like a really hard slog because like it's flooded, it's saturated, and like that I never really intended to get into the self-help, but apparently that's where I am. So like when I was writing From Dilemmas to Decisions, I was like, oh, this is a data book. This isn't a self-help book, but apparently it's a self-help book. when I published it on Amazon, it was it just like went into the top something of creative self-improvement or something, which I didn't even know was a genre.
Oh, there's so many genres now.
There's so many genres.
Yeah.
That's it. But yeah, I guess back to that decision, it comes back to, okay, well, do you think that this is going to be a long-term thing for you, or is this like a shiny object that is it's a quick win? And quick wins can be good sometimes, but it depends on like what problem that's solving for you. So like if it looks like I've only got like about 2 weeks of savings left, and a quick cash injection might be good, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, Joey, like the burning platform for you at the moment is the money. So take the path that's going to solve that problem for you, at least in the short term, and maybe just put like boundaries around it as well. Say like, um, I think disengagement is. I think I can solve these problems for you in about 6 months. What do you think about that? But I probably wouldn't be willing to solve like I probably wouldn't be willing to be like a chief marketing officer for you or anything like that. As if anyone's going to ask me to be a chief marketing officer, but hypothetically, right? So I think it's about taking a step back and looking at long term goals, looking at values, and seeing which path best aligns with those things, and that's probably the first step. So I'll pause there, Pauline, and see if I've answered your question, or if you've got any
Yeah,
follow ups on that.
actually, I think I like the approach of what solving my problem. What problems do I have that I need to solve? Which is look, the advice that I give to a lot of our clients is that, look, I know you're looking for this kind of job. It's really hard to get in there, but if you take this job, maybe just for 3 months, it will help you to get some income, get some experience, may open more doors. I never sort of looked at it as, oh, you have a problem, this will solve your problem. Like, I didn't never use those words specifically, but that is the intention. So I like that because I think it summarizes really clearly what that step is, not necessarily um, a step backwards or sideways or anything. Because a lot of people look at it that way, like this is not what I want, so I shouldn't be doing it. But it's not. It's just the immediate solution to a problem to help you get to the next stage of where you want to be, which is great. But again, maybe it's the solution to a problem and you try it and you love it. Like I was actually in a very similar position when during the global financial crisis when I was let go. A lot of companies were shutting down, and so a lot of us were made redundant. And I was looking for work. I was, like many of us, quite stressed. And so I did find a job. It was in administration. I was doing a master's degree in HR, and I got all this HR experience to go into admin, but I took it because I needed the income and something better than nothing, right? And the thing is, it was for a basically looking at medical legal cases. It was for an occupational therapist, people that injured themselves at work and they were going through work cover, making claims, and the company, we were assessing their injuries and looking at alternative employment based on their transferable skills and medical restrictions. And all I was doing was the admin, right? But it took only a few months for me to start actually writing the reports and doing the research. And I could see a link to what my background was because I was looking at employment, skills. What can that person do? I was job searching, I was researching for them. And it was fantastic because I grew in that role. I actually really enjoyed that role. I got a different skill that was able to bring back into HR, and even more so now in my career angels where I'm doing career change. So what looked like a backward step or something that was not aligned to my career, and I only just took it just to solve a problem, immediate problem, end up being so valuable and enjoyable. I didn't think I would like it, but I loved it. So I think sometimes you have to say yes to things. You can always say no later. And that was the thing. I wasn't sure if I was going to take the job because I'd just at that moment also enrolled into that master's program, which I wanted to do full time. And I was talking to my mum about it. I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I got this opportunity. She's like, you can always quit. You can always quit. So, but you can't always go back and say, I changed my mind, give me the job. So, true. So, I gave it the chance and I loved it. So, and I left a year and a half later. I left when things got better in the HR industry, or in general in the economy. But it was a great choice. So No, you someone wants to do marketing. Look, we need marketing. So if you
Yeah, hey, Joe,
you never know where it could
Chief
lead.
Marketing Officer.
That's
Listen to my
true.
story. It could guide you somewhere, another exciting path. So
That's it.
yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I guess
yeah.
sorry, I was just going to say, and I guess the tension between like the just say yes, you don't know where it's going to lead you. The I guess the that's often in tension with you need focus, like as in there's something in front of you, like for instance, the uncertainty of starting a business or like launching a new product. It's really tough because it's you just don't know, like all this work you're putting into it, is it going to work out or not? And it can be tempting to uh, basically take short-term wins that are in front of you. However, like Pauline was saying, like you can never like go back and say like, oh, can you give me the job, please? I've changed my mind, and that's true. I think the other side of it is like if you like if I end up like looking 5 years back and go like, oh, like I remember I was trying to write a book. Whatever happened to that? And it was like, oh, you actually took that job. Remember? I was like, oh yeah, I did. And like the question is, do you consider that like something that you did to solve a problem, an immediate problem in front of you, or was it a distraction to take you away from something like an uncomfortable feeling of uncertainty? And that's why I always encourage people and encourage myself as well, whenever I'm making a decision like that, to write down the reason why I'm making this decision. Because sometimes you'll come to the end, like a decision will play out 5 years later or something, and you'll go like, you'll ask yourself rhetorically, what was I thinking? And often people don't have an answer to that because they haven't written it down anywhere. So I try to get myself and the people that come to me for advice to basically say like, write it down somewhere and then set a review date, not 5 years from now, usually like about 3 months from now. And then you won't have to ask that question anymore because you will actually literally know what you were thinking at the time. And then you can learn from that. So, yeah.
I try my very, very best to live my life with no regrets, right? Because, and I know it's hard, and we all have something that we've done that we regret, whether it's that Saturday night out or what not. Like me, for me, it's the tattoo, very impulsive. I blame
Oh,
ADHD on that.
it's nice though.
So, I mean,
Okay.
this is a permanent decision that I regret multiple times, like a few of them, right? But I do try my best to live a life with no regrets. And one of the things that I try to remind myself when I look back, like, "Oh, why did I do it?" is to remind myself, well, you know what? But in that moment, it was the right choice for me, right?
Mm,
In that
mm,
moment.
yeah,
So, but the only way that you know if it's the right choice for you is like what you said. You got to not be impulsive, like the tattoos, but actually
Analyze the
sit down and
situation.
analyze the situation. Like, is this right for me? Is it not? And you want to think about your future self and make your future life easier, but that's never going to be a guarantee. And so if you turn around and go like, what happened to that book? I always wanted to write that book. Oh yeah, I got the job. But you know what? I needed that job and I wanted that job as well. That was the right thing for me. It's a shame I didn't write the book simultaneously. I could have done that. But you know what? I can do it now.
that's it. That's it.
And
Yeah.
I think we were talking before, like off the podcast, was about time frames, and so much of us love to put a calendar date on when we are supposed to achieve something, and if we haven't achieved it by that day, it that opportunity has expired. But that's not true. That's in our heads. That's society. But that is not really reality. If you think about it, like how many more years of life that you have, God willing, but like, how many more years of life?
We set up weekly goal planners, and we look at it each week and we go through it and check it daily just to make sure they're ticking or Xing, and that's fine. And we say, put in all your goals. So sometimes it's also like put in the personal stuff too, like what you wanted to do outside of the career side. But if you haven't ticked it, move it on to the next week. It doesn't mean you have to forget about it. It doesn't mean that you failed. It doesn't mean it's oh, I didn't get to do it. I'm regretting it now. No, it's fine because life happens. You got sick. Your car broke down. Your friend got sick. Whatever it is, these things happen, and it could be like in your case, a job offer. Is that going to be the right thing for me or not? Or, with Pauline, the admin side. So it's just things can maybe become a hurdle, but they don't have to be a brick wall. You can still just push it to the next one, jump over that week, move your goal forward, absolutely fine. And once our clients realize that as well, you can sort of just, the shoulders go down, just the relief of, oh, okay, it's okay if I don't achieve that this week. I'll try, and I'll try really hard, as long as you're doing your best. If you're going to slack off and not care, then that's also, it's on you, but we're going to keep prompting you. But as long as you've tried to achieve it, that's already something you should be proud of, just that effort.
People forget that life happens, and it's not so black and white, is it? It's not like I'm going to focus on my career and nothing else matters. You hear all these people, they're like, you don't go out, you don't see your friends, you don't eat, you don't sleep, you just live and breathe. And then by the time you're 40, you can retire living on a yacht. Who you going to
With
retire
no friends,
and
with
what?
no family.
Who?
That's
What are you
it.
gonna
That's
do?
it.
You're eating noodles. Like, life is about to be is a balance of experience and joy. It's not just about work. I don't think we were put on this earth to be, was it workhorses?
Mm.
Workhorses?
Of course.
I was
Workhorses
gonna
makes
say
sense.
work
Yeah.
dogs, but I think that's right. Workhorses. Like, we as a society have created these things because of, I think before it was like what, like barter, like, I've got a cow, you've got a chicken, let's enjoy, but it was all about community and storytelling and all of that. And now with the economy, all these other things have come up. So, and then it's something becomes our identity as well. You got to enjoy, you got to feel that you also have balance, like family, friends, community. That's one part of living a long and happy, healthy life. What you do in purpose and employment, it's just another part. It's not the only part. And life happens because you got family, you've got friends, you've got your own things, your own mental and emotional needs.
So,
I'm very stuffy,
Yeah.
sorry.
we've got a bit of a
You're not just tearing up because
No,
you're
yes,
on an
it is.
inspirational.
I mean, this is the thing. This is something I'm
I
very
was tearing up.
passionate about. I talk about this book all the time. It's only because I resonated with it so much. It's Ikigai, the Japanese. So it's about Ikigai. What this book's about is about how to live a long and happy life. And it's not one thing. It's multiple things. It's about movement of the body. It's about diet. It's about community, purpose, finding passion and flow with what you do. So it's a combination, and I think that living and breathing work to try to achieve a goal, and only that. And if you don't get it by this day, this time, you are cutting yourself off from all these other moments of joy. And a lot of people, when I hear like what nurses say about what um their elderly patients say on their deathbed, a lot of it is, I wish I didn't work as much, I did wish I work as hard.
So I have a question, Joey. After all the techie stuff, you took that break of, like, you thought to spend time with your parents, which I love. That's fantastic. Everybody probably went, "Oh," when you said that. But then the whole thing about the book, and I like that you analyzed what do I do? Like, what is my next thing? So I actually have, I guess, two questions. One,
Yeah.
did you
No question limit.
question
here.
limit? One,
Make it three,
is,
Natasha.
pardon?
Make it three questions.
Three, yeah, 10. Yeah, that's going to be a long podcast. No. One is, did you use any tools to self-analyze? Like, did you go online? Did you reach out to anyone, any coaches, any mentors? Did you speak to people? What tools did you use to help you self-analyze and figure out your next steps? And the second question is, what challenges did you face with the whole book thing? Like, had you written a book before? Had you, so two very different questions. So the first one is the tools you used, if any, on that self-analysis and reflection to figure out what you were going to do next.
Yeah, sure thing. I'll try and keep like reflection and introspection stuff like that is something that I am a complete nerd on. I just love it. So I'll try and be as concise as I can, but feel free to double click anywhere you want. But yeah, since 2007, I've been like I journal and it's gone through various evolutions. But I guess over the past 5-ish, 6-ish years, probably even longer, I have a process where like every week I think about like how am I converging or diverging from my values? What insights have I learned during the week? What are things that I'm not sure are good or bad? I just call them considerations. So like, what are things that my brain's chewing on at the moment? Um, Things that are specifically causing me anxiety, and what I'm going to take away from the above data points. And then at the end of every month, these weekly this like weekly qualitative data gets pushed into like a monthly frame, and I zoom out and I go, okay, so what are the big like things that I can draw out of this? It's kind of like what I did on the weekly, but on a monthly scale. Then that feeds into a quarterly scale and then an annual scale. And so I write about myself a lot. Probably sounds awfully
No.
narcissistic, but I think a little bit of self love is good,
It
right?
depends how you write it. So, Dear diary, I'm amazing. That's narcissistic. But
I'm
analyzing
a superstar.
your feelings and your mental state and what's driving you or not in that moment is something we should all do, and we don't. Many don't. So this is an amazing thing that you're doing for yourself.
Yeah. It's what we tell our clients to always check in. Are you still on the right path? And to check in on that, you got to do that self analysis. And we always say, whenever you've achieved something, write that down too, so that you can look back and remember your achievements and not just sit there going, oh, I've just been doing the same thing every day. It's just those achievements are really important. Yes, they're going to help you for your resume and interviews and all of that, but they also help you in life, because then you can see what you're building on, and you can see also what you're achieving and that could be leading you down a different path. It could be that those achievements are focused slightly different on what you thought your career was going to be focused on. So keeping a journal like that is great. I mean, I personally, for me, it's not great because I don't journal, and I've tried so many times to journal. So I'm really good, to coach others and to check up on others.
Well, if you can't do teach,
But you can't do teach.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you've got to find a method that works for you specifically. For obviously for Joey, journaling makes it visually easy to see and understand and analyze. I know for me, I constantly review myself internally. I'm always mulling over the day, the week, the month, the year, and constantly reflect. And I keep it all in my head. And I think that for me, that works because I don't know, I even like have my own data in myself, like feeling here, emotion there, and I segmented it all in myself internally. So, but that's something I've
Some
always
people might
done. I'm pretty
voice
emotional.
record memos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you have a spreadsheet that you've created for this, Joey, or is this literally just writing in a notebook?
It's a mind map. So yeah. If you think about, so I've got one for every year, and so and the year is, so it's not actually the year, it's the age that I'm at. So for instance, I'm just finishing the 41st year, and so next one will be 42nd, and so to say 42nd in the middle, and then it will have all the different branches. So at the end of it, it will just basically be 4 main branches, which is like the different seasons of the year. And then inside each of those seasons will be the months, and inside each of the months will be the weeks. So it'll be like a fractal
When did you
type,
start doing
not
this?
specifically a fractal, but
When did you
what's that?
start
Sorry,
doing this?
the mind map format was probably like, I think maybe going back to 2012, 2011. Before that, it was like more like just Word documents.
So
Scattered
you've
around.
always
Um,
analyzed
You
yourself.
said since 2007 you said you started journaling. That's what you said. Yeah.
That's it.
Mm.
So in
That's
your
it. Yeah, yeah.
20s.
I will come back to your question, Natasha. But I guess the other thing as well, like when you say journaling doesn't work for you, I guess the thing is, it really depends. I think there's a this. I think it's trendy to journal these days. Like it's because like you just mentioned to people like, oh yeah, I journal. They go, wow, that's so cool. It's a bit like, oh yeah, I've got a meditation practice. Wow, you got a meditation practice. It's like, but the thing is, not everyone needs to journal. I highly recommend it because I think it's great to be able to even look back on the week. Life just moves by so quickly, right? And often I look back on the week and go, "Oh yeah, that happened. I had this great podcast with like my career angels, right?" Um, and this is fantastic. But it can also get caught up in the churn of like modern life, right? With these notifications and like having to reply to so and so, and yeah, it's just so many inputs, right? So, but Natasha, you might find that you like your brain is probably just clear enough without it. Whereas for me, I feel like if I don't do this, it's like I just like my head is a little bit like a ball of yarn. Like I can function, like during holidays and stuff like that. I probably don't need to journal, but I do it because I enjoy it now. It's gotten to the point where I enjoy it. It's a habit. That's it. And I know the benefits I'm going to get from it. And I think it's a similar thing with working out and exercising. Like when you first start out, it's not that fun. And then after a while, the practice becomes its own reward because now, like whenever um, I work out, I associate that with the long term benefits of like in looking at myself in the mirror and also getting to listen to my podcast and that great post workout that post workout high. I associate that with actually getting my gym clothes on now. So I think the practice in a way becomes its own reward. But I guess what needs to happen first is you need to kind of link it to something that is something that you want to not to link everything back to a problem, but it is kind of like you need a strong enough why for it. And sometimes, depending on how what's the word influenced you are by society, sometimes because everyone else is saying it's the cool thing to do might not be enough. It is for some people, but yeah, if you're more independently minded, it might be you need to find your own
Might have to find
why
one
for
way.
it.
Yeah, because I'm definitely not influenced much by
Well,
society. I've never been one to
no,
follow the
no,
trend. Always
Natasha.
been
I have. I'm that victim on the TikTok shop. Like yes, and but one thing you did say that is I 1000% agree with you is that we can the good things, the achievements, the skills, the joys get absorbed and lost in the overall picture of life. And we can forget so easily. Like I was, because every year I do a reflection in our newsletter to our database. We send out a newsletter. It's supposed to be weekly, but we don't, sometimes it's fortnightly, sometimes it's monthly.
I
But
like to keep them on their toes.
yeah, you never know when we're going to send you something. But every year, though, at the end of the year, I ask everyone to stop and reflect on the year that has been, and so then I do the same. And so I have a reflection, and then I write about that year. And whilst the year went by so quickly, and I feel that not much has happened, so much has happened, good and bad. We've had some Natasha and I have had some ups and downs, family, we have family members passed away and things. But even something like that, a family member passing away, gets lost in the whole picture of life because we've still got the day to day and every day is crazy. So one of the things that I did, which Natasha, you can maybe try, which again, it's a habit thing, but at the end of the day, to sit down with your family and say a few things, like three things that happened that was good in the day or that you enjoyed in the day. Like today I did a podcast, it was really interesting,
We do 2 stars and a wish.
two
So
stars and
two
a wish.
stars,
Oh, I love
so two
that.
highlights, and then a wish. So instead of what wasn't good, like what do you wish would have happened today, or what do you wish to happen tomorrow? Like something that obviously
Positive.
is something, yeah, to turn it positive. So clearly, okay, that didn't go well. They wish it was like this. So still having the positive words come
It's
out.
like The
Yeah.
Secrets. I
Yeah.
actually do believe a little bit in that. I know some people may think that that's mumbo jumbo, but the secrets, it's all about the changing the perspective on how one thinks. That's really what it is. From negative thought process to positive, because what you put out there comes. If you start thinking about red car, you're going to see so many red cars. So that there's more red cars. It's just because what your mind is focused on. So if you start focusing on the good, you'll see more good than bad, not because suddenly there is more good. It's always been there. You just haven't noticed it. So with part of the secret was almost like a journaling, not it was just so I did this every morning with my coffee before work. I would write down everything that I was grateful for that I already had in my life. And the concept of that is that it'll become I'll get more of that same things that I enjoy. I'm grateful for my friends, my health. And then instead of writing things that I wish, which is it was very similar, but pretend that it's already happened and that I'm grateful for it. So then I would say, I'm grateful for my promotion. Sometimes I'd go a bit cray
I'm
cray. I'm
grateful
grateful
for
for
winning the
my
$100
$1 million
million
bank
in the
account.
lottery.
Look at us. We think the same. I mean, I need to keep writing because it hasn't happened yet. But I stopped doing that. But I was grateful for my car, and I remember when Natasha and we went away years ago on a holiday, and we were waiting for a shuttle bus or something from Disneyland actually, and I remember this conversation. I said to her, I really need a new car because my car, seriously, it was so bad. The indicators weren't working, the window went down, wouldn't go back up. I'm like, when we get back to Melbourne, I need a new car. I want my car to be black. I want it to be brand new. And I want it to be $30,000, which is, you know, not really heard of, right? I said, these are what I want. And I am going to get this car no matter what. Sure enough, I got a demo Mazda that was on sale for, I think, 30 grand or something, maybe a bit more. But it was black too. It was the car I wanted and I got it. And I was just so happy. But the point is that I feel like I manifested. I had that goal. I said it out loud and I refuse to accept anything else.
I do
But
not remember
Yeah.
the conversation.
you don't? I do. I really do. I remember that we were in the car park. We just left Disneyland. This is not
Yeah.
relevant. The point is that sometimes you got to put it out there as well. And so journaling, I feel like when you start to analyze, you can see what went well. That's positive thinking. You can see maybe what you want to do better, and then you have that positive thoughts of what you're going to do to make it better. So either way, it's all positive. I mean, it depends how you look at it. You can look at it negatively, but I get the idea that you don't.
I think I tend to have a bit of a negative, like pessimistic bias towards the world. I think I'm probably more that than optimistic. I think, but I try to get like one of the great things about this reflection is that I feel like I can know myself and then put like guardrails that can counter those things. So, for instance, to counter my like kind of negativity bias, every day I write about 4 things I'm grateful for, um, and so that's like that. Just I think it does a lot to balance things out because I'm doing it every day. I'm doing it in the morning. It's like one of the first things I do. Uh, I also try to look out for small acts of kindness, and it can even be unintentional kindnesses as well. But I just look at it as kindness. For instance, oh, the bus driver waited for me. Like he saw that I was running and waited for me. I don't know. I don't know whether he actually waited for me, right? But that's a story I'm choosing to tell myself. And so yeah, when I can zoom in on those things, and so I actually write those little things down, and then at the end of the week, like I might have even had a pretty crap like Saturday or something, and then on Sunday when I do my review, I might look back on it and go like, yeah, the world is actually quite a nice place, really.
That's
Yeah,
Our brains are comfortable with what it knows, which is habit. So it is really hard to change from a negative mindset to a positive mindset is really unpleasant. And so when something then negative happens, the brain's like, oh, I know that. You might not like it, but I know it. I know what to expect from it. I know how it feels. Let's go there. It's cozy and warm there. We'll just go back to the negative thought process. And it takes time to change that and switch it. So the goal is to make the positive thought process the comfortable one. But that's really hard. It's really, really, really hard to do. And I think it takes what, 21 days to break a habit or change a habit, but I don't believe it. I think it's much longer.
It actually depends. It actually depends on the habit. Like, I mean, the thing is, if you wanted to get addicted to a methamphetamine or something like that, I don't think it would take that long. And when I say you, I don't mean, I mean the
Yes.
human race.
Okay,
I
yes.
don't mean,
Things that work, okay, that
I
work
wasn't pointing the
hard.
finger at anyone.
Yes. Yes.
That's it. But if you wanted to create a habit around meditation or something where you don't see the benefits of it immediately, it's probably going to take longer than 21 days. And the 21 days thing is, I think someone just pulled it from somewhere. Yeah. Because it's nice. It's 3 weeks kind of thing. But yeah, it really, unfortunately, it depends. And people don't like to be told it depends. They want a magic number. It was more that the journaling is pretty much the crux of it. So, and also having a great support network where you can have like real conversations about like saying, you know what, I'm feeling scared about this. I'm feeling scared about this thing. What I need right now is someone to just like say, your feelings are valid, and not to try to rush in and solve a problem for me. So it's
And who
basically
was that for
those
you?
two
Was that
great things. So
family,
like,
friends,
uh,
network? Friends.
it's mainly friends. I wouldn't. My parents tend to
You
worry
want to
about me a
burden it.
lot. So like, for instance, with things like,
So you
what's
didn't
that?
want to feel
Sorry.
like a burden putting that on them, the pressure.
It's it goes both ways, kind of, because I guess the thing is, I didn't want to have to manage. I didn't want to have to try and manage their emotions as well. So like, if I, for example, the first time I left a job without lining something else up, like I knew that they would worry about me, but I also knew I had it in hand. I had the savings. I knew what the market was like, and I I found the next job within like 6 weeks or something like that. It was fairly easy, but like my parents like come from a different generation, right? It's basically like, if someone gives you a job, you work at that job until they let you go, kind of thing. It's and so a job is a gift that comes from heaven. You don't like throw it back. You don't throw it back, and um, so generally, but I do have a fear, and I do have an uncertainty about it, because like, while I do have these things logically planned out, there is still that kind of like, okay, but like there is still like, step one, there's a 80%, like 30% uncertainty around that, and step two, and so on. So it is nice to talk it.
It's good that you have that the friends that can support. I mean, I hope that everyone has at least that one friend that he doesn't put their biases on it and just open and like understands you, knows your strengths and reminds you of that. But will support you regardless. Look, family is complicated because they have biases, because they're driven by strong emotions of, I am worried about you, and also I've got my old way or traditional way of thinking, which is fair enough. We different generation, and then again, when the next generation alpha comes, will be the old fashioned thinking individuals as well. So I get that, it's natural. And you need someone that will not put any biases, no matter how positive and intentions there are. You need someone to look at it objectively and be like, no, I think you've got this, and this makes sense, and I know your skill set, and it's okay, to worry. I think if you didn't worry, then you showed that you didn't really care with what was going on in your life or the direction it took. And sometimes that pressure, that nerves, that point of no return, we're like, oh, I don't know if I have any space to fail, is what's going to drive you to succeed. And if you failed, and so what? There'll always be another opportunity. There'll always be another job. Yes, it's uncomfortable and unpleasant in that moment, but it's not forever. That's the other thing. People need to remember that a lot of people right now are looking for work, and I think that they are very demotivated because the economy is really hard, and with a lot of ghost jobs and fake interviews and all these things. But that is not necessarily going to be their story for the next 5 years.
This is when I would highly recommend talking to someone. And yes, I know you had your friends really supportive, which was great. But even then, sometimes with some people, their friends don't understand. They maybe have never been in that situation, or they're just viewing you in a certain way and thinking, well, that doesn't match what I know about you. So having reaching out to maybe somebody else would be good as well, be it, a career coach, or even going onto LinkedIn and finding a mentor or something like that would really help with your motivations. And especially if you are feeling like you're a failure, talking to someone about it can really change your mindset. And the people you talk to may have failed in their life too. And I don't really like calling it
I don't like that
failure.
word either. I was like, failure.
Yeah,
Ooh,
it's
not.
a learning
No, not
opportunity.
failure. It's just setbacks, feeling setbacks, and then having those setbacks over your head like a dark cloud, thinking, is this it? Like, am I not going to achieve what I want to achieve? And then you start getting anxious because you're like, oh, I have these goals and I'm not getting there. And you get there. It's just every journey is different. And I think that we need to remember that. And we can't compare our journeys with other people, because we all have, it's within our time, not their time. It's your time. And you don't know someone else's backstory as well. I know a lot of people are like, well, why do they get that management role? Well, you don't know who they know. You don't know how they got there. You don't know how they networked or what opportunities entered that. And, that was their path to walk. But if it can happen to them, it can happen to you. And that's the thing. That's why I very, very, very rarely am I ever jealous, because then if I catch myself ever being jealous, I'm like, why am I jealous? It's because I want the same thing. Then instead of being jealous, I get excited because, like, hang on, that is possible. They got it. They've got what I want. I didn't know I wanted. I can do it too. So now I know what my next goal in life is. So then I get excited. That's why it's very rare that I'm ever really jealous of anyone, because I just look at it as my next goal, and I know that's possible.
What challenges did you face? So if there's anyone listening that wants to write a book
I do.
or is
Really. I
unsure,
do.
and
So I'm really, really interested.
because I know there's so many people that have reached out
For
to
sure.
me on LinkedIn saying, have you ever thought of writing a book? We can help you write a book for like $40,000.
Oh,
Yeah, thanks. No.
Just before I answer the question, I noticed we're coming up to time. Like, is it all right if I answer this question and then we just
That
go
is the
straight
next
to the
question.
18,
Yes.
the 18-year-old thing? I think I probably have an easier path than most because I'm like a compulsive note taker, and I've got this system. I call it a second brain, where I listen to an interesting podcast, I read an interesting article. I've got this process where it goes into this big repository of connected mind maps, and so generally, whenever I sit down to write anything or create any content, I'm generally not starting from a blank page. I already kind of have the dots in there. It's just a matter of joining the dots. So a lot of the hard work is kind of done before I even sit down to make it happen. So the main challenges for me is editing, and because I did the editing myself. I also had like a team of volunteers, aka friends, that would proofread for me as well. And they gave me some really good feedback. And it's good if you have friends where you can just say, be as blunt as you want, like just speak off the cuff, because I want this to be as good as it is. And so, but it is still tough to get the feedback, but you want it, right? It's like practicing self-defense or something. You don't want someone to, if you want, like in class, you want someone to hit you, because like a real assailant in the real world isn't going to, like do a practice punch on you. So um so in the same way, I want them to tell me exactly what's on their mind, so that when it's out in the real world, it's well practiced and well versed. So, but it still is tough. Like I'm still a human being at the end. It's still my baby out there, and so that's kind of tough. And the other thing is just like constantly challenging that idea of like, who am I? Who am I to like be telling people how to make decisions? Like the biggest decisions I've been making have been around my career, which are, sure, they're huge for me, but like I haven't had to make a decision about funding like nuclear power or something like that, or like these big, like these bigger decisions. So like, who am I to who am I to be telling people how to make decisions? But I guess it always comes back to um, grounding what you say in your own experience. And so, as long as there can be a certain amount of advice in it, but if you're coming at it from the lens of I I've had this experience, other people have found it interesting. I want to share this experience with more people because I think it'll be helpful. This is what happened to me. This is what I did, and this is what I learned from it. Then the story becomes there's no one else that can tell this story. Who am I to tell this story? Well, no one else is going to tell it because it's my story, kind of thing. And so, always coming back to that can help overcome that challenge, which I think can throw me off, and I've seen other people as well basically question themselves out of actually doing the work to finish it. And it goes back to what we were talking about before with uncertainty. It's like they might take a career break to write the book and stuff, and then someone might wave a job opportunity in front of them, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'll take it," because this scary creative challenge is in front of them, and they talk themselves out of it. And so, it all comes back, kind of coming full circle in our conversation about like what problem are you trying to solve with this decision that's in front of you.
So our final question is, with all this career changes and transitions you've had, what would you tell or what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
I try and give this advice, but I think at the same time, my 18-year-old self would just be like, who are you to tell me what to do, kind of thing, right? I mean, he's 18, right? He's 18, and there's like 41-year-old guys coming up to me and saying, what do you know about me? Like, these challenges that are in front of you at the moment, you think they were insurmountable, but you're going to get there. And every time you surmount a challenge, you become like a more advanced version of yourself. And so, and then with that, you can actually help other people that are a few steps further behind you. And always look for those opportunities where you can help other people, because you'll encounter other people on your journey as well, and they'll be a very valuable there'll be a very valuable assist for you. And by helping the people that are further behind you, you're going to provide a lot of feeling of significance and satisfaction in your life by helping those people.
But that's great advice. That's fantastic.
I love it.
If someone would tell me that advice when I was 18. Don't forget to hit subscribe, follow us on Spotify at Career Reshaped,
and check us out on Instagram at my.career.angels.